Hey, hi. In this video, we're going to see how to enable Azure Kubernetes Service Monitoring with using Manage Prometheus and Grafana. Here, I will show you how to configure Azure Kubernetes services with Azure Manage Prometheus and Grafana. Prometheus is a service which actually scrapes the metrics and the logs from Azure Kubernetes services, and Manage Grafana is the visualizing service which actually helps us to visualize the metrics collected by the Azure Managed Prometheus. And finally, we're going to see that how that the collected metrics can be visualized in a dashboard, that is nice dashboard managed by Grafana. Here we will elevate Azure Monitor Workspace, the capabilities, so that the logs collected by Azure Managed Prometheus will be stored in Azure Monitor Workspace, and Azure Monitor Workspace will be linked with Azure Managed Grafana, so that the Grafana can extract the information that is stored in the Azure Monitor, and then finally we can visualize that. Okay, that's what we're going to see in this video. So now what I do is I'm going to take you to the my Azure subscription. So this is my Azure subscription. I have already created an AKS cluster, and I have also managed to create the the Grafana and the monitoring workspace. Let me show you how to create that. Okay, so for now I have created a resource group called cloudquicklabs. In this resource, my AKS cluster is sitting, and the other resources that is required for this demo, that is Azure Monitor Workspace and Azure Managed Grafana are also been sitting here. Okay, now let me quickly show you how to create these two resources. For now, first you go to the Azure Monitor Workspace, click on like this, click on create. So here you need to choose the resource group where you want, give the name of your Azure Monitor Workspace, something like this. Click on next, keep the default options in the networking. In the next tags, maybe you can keep it default for tags as well, and then finally review and create. Okay, so once you click on a create, basically it creates a Azure Monitor Workspace, something like this. Yeah, and then to create a managed the Grafana, so you need to again go to the service called Azure Managed Grafana, click on create, and here you will choose the same resource group like you have where you have kept the Azure Monitor Workspace, and we'll choose the same region like Azure Monitor Workspace. Yeah, and then give the unique name. In the sense, the name here should be globally unique, because Azure Grafana basically Grafana Workspace use this name as a DNS, so that you will be accessing the Grafana application with using that name. Yeah, now in the pricing plan, I'm going to use it as a standard. Grafana version, let it be 10. Zero redundancy, rest all option you can keep it default. Go to the next, that is in advanced, keep it default. In the permissions, keep it default. So here let me tell you one thing, that so whenever you create Azure Grafana Workspace or Azure Managed Grafana, so it creates an system identity. Yeah, so that system identity, system assigned managed identity, or system identity basically, so that identity will be assigned with a role called monitoring reader on the subscription, which means that so this managed Grafana has access of type monitoring reader on the all the resources present in the subscription, and that is needed because in next step we're going to link the Azure Managed Grafana with the Azure Monitor Workspace, so that it can scrape the data that is present in the Azure Monitor Workspace and try to visualize it. Okay, that's what we're going to see now. In the next, that is networking, keep it default. Tags, keep it default, and then review and create. So once you click on create, so it will create a managed Grafana, something like this. Yeah, now to link the Azure Managed Grafana with Azure Monitor Workspace, what you do is you're going to go to the Azure Monitor Workspace, and in this one, so there will be an option called basically you see that linked Grafana Workspace. Okay, so there is an option called linked Grafana Workspace. Click on link, and then it will automatically link the workspace which is you have not linked. In my case, I have already linked, so it is not showing me that option. So here you can choose the that workspace, click on link. Okay, so if I try to click on link, it will throw the error because I have already linked it. Yeah, so in your case, basically you need to do this one for one time. Yeah, you see that the Grafana workspace is successfully linked, just for a demo purpose. Okay, so I did that. So basically what you are doing is, here you are actually linking the Azure Monitor Workspace with the Grafana, Grafana dashboard basically. Yeah. All right. So with that options, we are actually done with the prerequisite that you need to maintain on your resource group. Now, so now you have that. Now one more thing is, in this resource group you have the AKS cluster. Now we need to enable the Azure managed Prometheus so that it can scrape the metrics information from the Azure Kubernetes services, and then we can visualize those metrics or query those metrics in the Azure managed Grafana dashboard. Okay, so that is the main aim of this one. So to do this activity, what I do is, I'm gonna use ARM template, and we're gonna do a Azure ARM template deployment on this resource group, targeting to this, targeting to this AKS cluster, targeting to this, the Azure Monitor Workspace, and also pointing to the Azure Manager Grafana. Okay, so for that case, I'm going to take you to my VS Code. In VS Code, I have downloaded ARM template that is given by Azure itself. So in Azure document, I found this very interesting, the ARM template that can help you to configure Prometheus configuration on your AKS cluster. I'm going to share these documents in my video's description. You can find it from there. Okay, so basically this is an ARM template. It contains a schema, content version, and it has a parameters here. There are a huge list of parameters. It includes Azure Monitor Workspace Resource ID, Azure Monitor Workspace location, cluster resource ID, that is AKS cluster resource ID, cluster region, a metric label allow list, in the sense if you are creating a custom, if you are creating any kind of the pods belongs to your applications, and that has a metric label allow list, so you can list those metric labels here. Metric basically annotation allow list, in the sense if you have annotations that you need to collect the metrics from your custom pods, you can also try to list it here. In this video, I'm not going to configure these parameters, but in your case you can try to do that. Then this is the enable the Windows recording rules, in the sense here I'm using Ubuntu based AKS cluster, so I don't need to enable this Windows recording rules. And then we have a Grafana resource ID, which is nothing but managed Grafana resource ID has to be given here. Locations, a SKU of the Grafana, and the the role name, that is nothing but the basically it actually also configures a managed Grafana access. Okay, so here we're going to see what it actually does. Okay, so variables, I'm going to just keep it default. I'm not going to walk you through here. These are all nothing but the dynamically created variables. In this options, in this ARM template, this ARM template is actually doing two things. One, it is actually creating a Microsoft Insight data collection endpoints. If I go to the resource group, it is creating a data collection endpoint. You see that basically if I click on this one, it is creating this data collection endpoint. Yeah, all right. The next one is that so it is actually also creating the data collection rules as well. So basically this template is creating two important resources, that is endpoint and the data collection endpoint and the data collection rules. Yeah, okay, so with that options, let me go to the next resources of the template. So here actually it is doing a two resource deployment, basically, in the sense here it is creating the two resource, basically. Yeah, two resource deployment is happening from this one. So this is something ready to use ARM template, which you can you can use it as it is. If you are more interested, you can explore this one. Okay, so for now, this ARM template is doing a resource deployment, and the resource deployment is dynamically referenced to this particular deployment template. Yeah, so it looks like it is actually basically what happening is, under the hood it is actually configuring the AKS cluster with the Prometheus configuration, so that it can scrape the metrics from the AKS cluster. If you see the resource type, that is container service, this is managed cluster provider, data collection rule association. Basically, it is actually associating the data collection rule, nothing but configuring the metric, basically metric collection rules inside the AKS cluster as a config map. You can consider like that. Yeah, and then resource group map. So basically it is actually doing the multiple resource group deployment pertaining to do certain activities, that is cluster actually. Yeah, if I can walk down like this, and then it is also alert management Prometheus resource group actually. Yeah, so basically it is actually it creates a list of Prometheus rules group, So basically Prometheus rules group is nothing but collection of Prometheus metrics, in the sense the metrics which are responsible to collect the logs from the AKS. So those metrics are being listed out here. You can go through these metrics one by one. Okay, so it also considered for Windows as well, which we can ignore. And finally, if you go down, so if I can skip all those parameters and go to the Microsoft dashboard Grafana, so here actually it actually also links that Prometheus rule group with this dashboard. That is what it is happening. Okay, so if you see here, so basically this is the Grafana resource ID. Then the Azure Monitor Workspace, this is nothing but the Azure Monitor Workspace linking will be happening here. Yeah, so there are a lot many things that is happening here. You can explore more details. Yeah, this is the assigning the roles, this resource type, and then here this is for Windows rule configurations, and that is alert rule management, that is Prometheus rule groups. So it is actually creates 4 rule groups, which I'm going to show you right away. If I go to the the resource group and try to sort these the resource type, you see that there are 4 types of Prometheus rule groups, right? And each rule group is actually contains a list of metrics to be collected, which we're going to explore after the steps were been taken. So this is my ARM template and the respective parameters. Okay, so as I explained in the ARM template, that ARM template has the parameters, which includes the the workspace, Azure Monitor Workspace resource ID, locations, then the cluster ID locations, then actually it has the then it has a Grafana resource ID and locations and the Grafana scope. Okay, now to deploy this ARM template, I have used PowerShell, which I'm going to show you right away. So to deploy this ARM template, what I do is I am going to show you that how to deploy this ARM template on targeting to our AKS cluster, targeting to our Grafana, manage Grafana, and targeting to the Azure Monitor Workspace. Okay, so for that sake, what I do is let's first log in into the the Azure subscription first by running a command called connect AZ account, which is actually AZ PowerShell command. That is Azure PowerShell command, which is actually the latest PowerShell module from Azure. So we're going to open that URL and try to give the the code here. Once you click on the code, basically what you are doing is through using the browser authentication, in the sense my Azure portal is already open in the browser. So we're going to reuse the the cookies, or basically the sessions belongs to my account will be reused by PowerShell. Okay, that is what it happens under the hood. And you see that the PowerShell is already logged in. Okay, if you want to check, you can check like get AZ context. So you can check the context. Basically, by default when it logs in, it actually shows the the context. But when you have so many Azure subscription, checking the Azure context is very, very important, because by default when you log in into the Azure subscription, it actually lands on a particular context. So to make sure, you have to check the get context. So in my case, it is pointing to my pay as you go subscription. Okay, and then now let's go and try to run these the ARM template. For that sake, I'm just going to run this script line by line. So first one, we are actually targeting to a resource group, and then the deployment name. So we are just giving this deployment name, and this is my ARM template, and this is my actually the parameter.json. Here I'm not using this parameter.json because so there is a difficulties in using the parameters in the form of JSON. Yeah, because the AZ PowerShell command, that is new AZ resource group deployment, it actually expect the parameters values in a hash table. Yeah, and that hash table is not a JSON file. Okay, so for that reason, I have created an hash table of my parameters, and the values are being given respectively. It includes a workspace, that is monitor workspace resource ID, monitor workspace location, cluster resource ID, cluster location. Rest 2 options keep it default, and then the enable Windows recording false because I don't have any Windows nodes. Here the group, Grafana resource ID, Grafana location, and a Grafana scope. Okay, so with this, the hash table, that is PowerShell hash table, I am running this command, that is AZ new AZ resource group deployment. Yeah, where the name of my deployment is something like this, targeting to this resource group, and this is my ARM template, and this is my parameters. If I click on this one, basically I have already deployed this, I have already deployed this template in my resource group. Let's see what is it doing now. Okay, so if I go back to the my resource group and go to the this one, so basically it is actually reruns it. Basically, what is happens is it actually recalculates this. Okay, so basically why I am why I'm very much enthusiastic here to show you the configuring the Prometheus and Grafana monitoring on AKS with using ARM template, because ARM templates gives you an infrastructure as a code mechanism given from Azure. Okay, and this also helps you to maintain the versions of your configurations, and that is the reason I'm showing you in a ARM template. Now we are deploying this ARM template, which basically creates a 4 set of Prometheus rule group, and it also enables an access on the Grafana. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna see it here. Okay, so if I go back to the deployments here and try to refresh it here again, it will take a couple of minutes, and you see that this is currently actually the Azure metrics profile deployment. Okay, so if I'm going to open this, there is an error, so don't get confused with this error, because as I said, when I created the Azure managed Grafana, that Azure managed Grafana, the system identity is actually been assigned with the permissions, and that's the reason it is throwing the error, because it's already there. So if I refresh it and wait for a couple of minutes, and it should go green actually. Yeah. So for now, what I do is I'm going to keep on pause and come back once it is the deployment is done. Okay, after waiting for certain time, you see my deployment got failed, but it is actually not a deployment failure. It's failure for one resource creation while other resources are configured as expected. This is not a worry for me, because the authorization, nothing but role assignment is already been done. Instead of it is supposed to be done by ARM template deployment, it got already configured by the other mechanism. So under the hood, my deployment is actually complete. So if I refresh it again, so basically you see that it is actually succeeded. Okay, so with that options, if I go back to the resource group, that is nothing but resource group, which we were exploring here. So I'm going to close this off. Go back to our resource group, that is cloudquicklabs, and here are the the complete set of configurations of the Azure Monitor on Azure AKS. Right now, it is time to experiment the the configurations. Okay, now let me go from the Azure Monitor workspace. You can actually explore the the metrics collected by the Prometheus directly from the the Azure Monitor workspace. So if I click on this Azure Monitor workspace and go to the managed Prometheus, so you see that monitored clusters. In the monitored clusters, our cluster, that is cloudquicklabs AKS, is been enabled now. Okay, so now if you go to the monitoring and go to the metrics, here you can explore the metrics here. So here scope, let's use the scope, that is our AKS cluster. So this is our AKS cluster. I'm going to apply this, and here you can try to experiment the metrics. So here our metrics namespace is container service. Yeah, so container service standard metrics, and here you can also see the cluster release. In the sense, just choose a metrics called cluster health, and if you decrease the time lost, local time, nothing but time range from last 1 hour, so you can see the graph. That is nice graph is available here. Cloud cluster health 1 means the cluster is up and running fine. Yeah, so likewise you can explore the the other metrics. So you see that there are so many, that is nothing but this is, if you keep a cursor on this one, it will tell you the total amount of available memory in the managed cluster. Okay, so in this managed cluster, so basically this Azure Monitor workspace is also helping us to visualize the data collected by the Prometheus. Okay, so this is one way. Okay, so basically the resources who has the access to your subscription can only come to this Azure Monitor workspace and try to visualize it. Okay, think about a resources who does not has access to the Azure subscription, but they need to have the visibility on the AKS cluster. So in that case, the managed Grafana dashboard will come in a handy. Okay, so I'm going to show you that how does it matters. So likewise, you can explore the others one. Okay, so if you see that we have a data collection endpoint, networking configurations, right? The work group, etc., blah blah things are there here. So for now, this much is enough for the Azure Monitor. Let's go to the our original concept, that is, how to visualize the the metrics collected by the managed Prometheus in managed Grafana. Okay, so for that sake, what you do is, you go to the Azure managed Grafana. There is an endpoint called something like this. Click on this URL. Basically, that is nothing but, this is the URL through which you can access the Azure managed Grafana, where you have a capability to visualize the metrics collected by the managed Prometheus or managed Prometheus rules groups. Okay, so here this is not like the open source Grafana, the Grafana application, but this is something very different. If you see here on this workspace, I have admin access. If I go back to this workspace and go to the IAM access management role assignment, so in the role assignment, so I have a Grafana admin access. Okay, so here you have you have a Azure managed Grafana service on which you can actually manage the RBAC, which elevates the the Microsoft Entra ID based role assignment would be assigned on the Azure managed Grafana. In the sense, you are reusing the Microsoft Entra ID capabilities of the access management. All right. So with that option, let me go to the Azure managed Grafana and click on the home. Now we're gonna explore the the how we can explore the metrics collected by the two services here. One is basically managed Prometheus, yeah. Then the other one is basically the other one is actually the Azure Monitor, yeah. Okay. Now if I go back to this one, so let me go back to the this one. So this is our AKS cluster. We can also visualize the now since our AKS cluster is configured with the Prometheus, you can go to the monitoring options and can also explore the the monitoring that is enabled. Because if you go down, you see that managed Prometheus, the managed Prometheus is now being enabled. Yeah, so if you go here, you can see that the metrics are being collected. If you can change the time time to the last 1 hour, you can see the nice graphs is being being presenting here. That is node pool CVU, the node pool network, node pool level data are being visible here. Okay, so that's what you can do it here. Yeah. All right. So not only from the the AKS monitoring page, you can also explore from the Prometheus, which we're gonna explore right away. Here we also have an option called metrics in the Kubernetes services. So here also you can explore the same thing like you did in a Azure monitoring, the Azure Monitor workspace. All right. Now let's explore the let's explore this one, that is Azure managed Grafana. So in this one, there is an outline. In the outline, you're going to choose this managed Prometheus, that is Amazon, and that is basically AZ Monitor workspace. Okay, that is AZ Monitor workspace. Click on that outline, and here you can see the list of metrics. What are these list of metrics which I'm going to basically try to compare? In the sense, why I'm switching between these tabs is to enable you to understand what is happening under the hood. Okay, so that you can actually customize these configurations as per the enterprise need. So if I can sort the types here and go to the the node group. So we have a 4 types of node groups, as I said. That is Kubernetes recording rules group, node and Kubernetes recording rules group. Node basically you see that this is basically for Windows. Node recording rules group, that is cloudquicklabs. Okay, now let me first open this one and let's see what are all the rules are being enabled. Yeah, so underneath the rules, if you click on the rules, you see that there are 19 rules are being configured. Okay, so if you go to the scope, so basically these are nothing but Prometheus rule group. In the sense, it's a group of rules or nothing but rules which is actually configured on the AKS to scrape the the logs from the node. Okay, so here, so basically this is a scope is nothing but our AKS cluster. In the details, you can see that what is the the evaluate every time. In the sense, what is the polling interval that it actually scrapes the record. Okay, that is nothing but once in a minute. You can also change this value according to your requirement. And in the rules, if you go to the rules, basically in the rules you can also explore the rules that are being enabled. You see that status is also enabled here. I'm gonna let's little bit slide over and try to read these names. Okay, you see that node namespace pod container. Basically these are nothing but these are like a unique string which is responsible to collect a particular the metric from AKS cluster. Yeah. So likewise, if you can explore the other rule groups as well. So we have 4 rule groups. If I click to the rules, basically, so here it belongs to the Windows. So you see that these are for Windows. This is, since our cluster does not contains any Windows, the node pool or nodes. So this will does not matter, in the sense it will be ignored. Let's go to the other one, that is basically for the this is for AKS cluster. Click on the rules. So in this rule, you see that we have an instance level node number of capacity CPU. This looks to be very relevant to us. Okay, so for now, so these are all the rules. Whatever the rules I'm seeing here, will be available there in the manage Prometheus. Okay, so let's see. I'm just going to copy this. I'll click on this. You can also try to understand more details. Okay, let's see node memory utilization. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and go to the here and try to select that matrix. Here you go, right? So we have a node memory utilization and select the filter, that is yeah, basically since this is quite different, we need to give the complete name like this. Let me try to use this way. So if I try to find this way, okay, let's see if it filters. Okay, all right. So whatever the rule name here, you can just copy and try to explore in the manage Prometheus as well. Yeah. So we're going to minimize this one. We can directly try to, basically, currently we want to see node memory utilization ratios. Okay. So in this one, let's see at a cluster level, and then value, let it be our cluster, that is cloudquicklabs, and run a query. So once you run in this query, you see that there is a nice nice graph is being coming here now. And also in the down also, you can also explore the table, basically. Yeah? You see that time is at this time, this is the name of the metrics cluster is this one, node pool name is this one, then the job is node and metrics. Okay, this is what the data you can see in the raw, and these are all the values being collected on this. Okay, so here you can write a very complex query that is needed to analyze the metrics collected by the Prometheus. Analyzing the logs and the metrics collected by the Prometheus help you to dig down the or help you to understand the how your AKS cluster is working, eventually how is your application behaving on the the AKS cluster. Okay, so this will help SREs to actually do their daily job, nothing but keep a health check on your workloads and try to do those daily the activities that, like for example, say if there are any maintenance work is there, if you have any task need to be applied on the AKS cluster, if you need to apply any upgrade on the AKS cluster, these kind of monitoring will definitely help you to manage the lifecycle of our AKS cluster workloads. All right, so likewise we can also explore the others as well. So to explore the other, so I'm just selecting only single query. You can also make it a very complex query as well. So let's randomly pick something like a kubepad annotations, and then let me select at cluster level and try to run this query. So basically it will also give you the nice data, right? So you see that these are all giving the nice data, that is the kubepad annotation, these are the job, these are the namespaces, yeah, and these are the pod names. You see that there is a nice pod name here. So you can also explore this data. So currently it is weaving in a the table format. Okay, so likewise you can keep on exploring this, and also you can also add another query like namespace, and say like cube system. So basically you are actually refining the the output. Yeah, so you see that cluster is equal to this one, and from the cube system. Okay, so this is basically this is basically the logs, in the sense metrics from belongs to a namespace called cube system. Okay, so keep on doing this Prometheus query language, and then it will going to give you a result that is presented in the form of a graph, and also presented it also gives you the raw data as well. Okay, so likewise we can also explore the Azure Monitor as well. So okay, so since we have integrated manage Grafana with the Azure Monitor workspace, so here we can also query the data that is collected at Azure Monitor workspace level. So here let's select the resource, that is nothing but at a workspace level. So what are all the scope of the workspace? Okay, so here we can actually scope these many resource group. For now, let me scope the Kubernetes service. So basically this will give you different visibilities. Okay, so here we have chosen the the container cluster, that is managed cluster, and here you can choose basically you can collect in the sense this Azure Monitor Workspace is collecting these kind of metrics. You can choose any of this one. Disk usage bytes, and this is average. So at a cluster level, what is the disk used bytes? Okay, that information is available here. Yeah. So again, if you want to use the other something very useful, say like memory, CPU, CPU usage, at a cluster level. Yeah. So if you see here, we have a CPU utilization, that is the percentage of CPU utilization is also coming very nicely. Okay. So basically, these are nothing but, very, what I can say, this is nothing but, you are actually getting the, the metrics collected from a AKS cluster. You are actually having the, here it is actually, helping you to run a query against that data, and also visualizing the, that data in the form of a graphs, so that you can collectively make a decisions on that particular data. Yeah. All right. So with that note, what I can do is, I have shown you the things need to be shown in this video, that is from scratch to end. And I also given a hands-on experiencing, the demo here, how to use the Grafana to explore more about the, querying the, the metrics collected by the, managed Prometheus and Grafana. All right. So with that note, thank you very much for watching my video. Kind request, please do subscribe my channel. That would really encourage me a lot. With that note, thank you, thanks a lot, and see you in the next video.